2 days before my niece's wedding, I got an alert, $9,900 charged to my card for the reception. My sister laughed and said, "You don't have a husband or kids." "This is your role," I simply replied, "Noted." That night I called the venue. The next morning my mom was screaming, her fiancé was panicking, and my sister was outside my office. 2 days before my niece's wedding, I got a notification. $9,900 charged to your card. The number looked fake. For a second, I honestly thought it was one of those weird texts with a link to report fraud. But this one didn't come as a text. Came from my bank. Real-time notification. Real card. Real money. The charge was from a place called Birch and Stone Events. I sat frozen at my desk with the notification still open. I didn't touch anything. I just stared at it like it might correct itself if I waited long enough, but nothing changed. Birch and Stone. That was the name of the venue they booked for the wedding reception. The one with the vineyard, and the chandeliers, and the $200 per plate dinner. I remembered the name from a conversation 3 months ago when my sister proudly announced they'd splurged, because it was a once-in-a-lifetime moment, except apparently, I was the one paying for the moment. No one had asked me, I had never offered. There wasn't even a discussion. It was just done and someone had used my card. I wasn't part of the wedding committee. I wasn't a bridesmaid or a godmother or anything ceremonial. Just the single aunt with no husband, no kids, and as my sister liked to say, a flexible schedule and no real responsibilities. Apparently, now that also meant flexible bank accounts. I didn't call anyone. I just drove to my mom's house. She was hosting a wedding prep brunch with the bridal party. I hadn't been invited, which made what happened next even more ridiculous. I walked in through the back door and found all of them in the kitchen. My sister slicing strawberries. My niece trying on shoes. One bridesmaid adjusting a flower arrangement on the table. It smelled like Prosecco and hairspray. When I asked who used my card for the venue, no one answered at first. Then my sister shrugged and said, "Well, yeah, we had to pay the final deposit, and you don't really have anything tying you down, so we figured it'd be easier for you to float it for now. I mean, you always say you want to help." Then she laughed. "You've got no husband, no kids. This is your role. I didn't say anything else. I didn't fight. I didn't curse or raise my voice. I just looked at her and said, 'Noted.' Then I left. That night I made exactly 3 calls. First to the bank. I reported the charge as unauthorized and walked them through what happened. They froze my card, flagged the account, and told me I'd likely get the money reversed in 3 to 5 business days. Second, I emptied the rest of that account. Not a dollar left behind. If anyone had saved the number, they were going to get nothing but a decline. Third, I called Birch and Stone Events and told them the card on file had been used without my permission. The woman on the line was surprisingly professional, but I could tell by the pause in her voice that things were about to get chaotic. By the time I went to bed, I had already started thinking about everything else. The business my sister and I were planning to launch together, the joint investment we'd been researching, even the email draft in my inbox about an LLC in both our names, all of it. Pants mentally shredded, and in the morning, I woke up to my phone lighting up like a Christmas tree. Mom screaming, her fiancé pacing in the background, yelling about breach of contract, my niece sobbing. And at exactly 8:42 a.m., while I was walking into work, my sister was already standing outside the office building, face pale, arms crossed. The same woman who said this was my role didn't seem so confident anymore. She was already waiting when I pulled into the office parking lot the next morning. I recognized her car parked slightly crooked, hazard lights still blinking like it was some kind of emergency, which to her it probably was. I didn't slow down. I parked on the other side of the lot, grabbed my bag, and walked in without acknowledging her. She got out and started calling my name, but I was already through the doors. She followed me into the lobby, fast walking like I might escape her. When I got to the elevator, she tried to squeeze in behind me, but I just looked at her and said calmly, "Don't not here." She didn't listen. She was still talking as the doors closed. Something about how I didn't understand what I'd done, that I'd blindsided her and my niece, that I'd humiliated them both. I didn't respond, just rode the elevator up, badged into my floor, and shut my office door. A few minutes later, security called to let me know someone was downstairs causing a scene. I told them I didn't authorize any guests and hung up. She stayed in the parking lot for almost 2 hours. I could see her from my window. During that time, my phone vibrated nonstop. Me niece's fiancé blocked numbers. At one point, I had 14 missed calls and a dozen messages all trying to do the same thing. Pull me back in. Not one of them asked what happened. Not one of them asked if I was okay. They just kept telling me how much damage I'd done, that I was making the biggest mistake of my life, that I had committed to something even though I hadn't. At 12:14 p.m., I texted my sister one sentence. "The answer is no. Please stop contacting me." That was the last direct message I sent her. Within 20 minutes, my mom called again. When I declined, she sent me a paragraph. She started it with, "I'm not taking sides," and then spent 4 lines doing exactly that. Said I'd acted rashly, that I'd overreacted, and that families sometimes make decisions together without always explaining them first. That this wasn't about money, it was about love, about showing up. The voicemail she left afterward was longer. I didn't listen to it, still haven't. What got under my skin was the message from an unknown number. "This is Daniel's mom. I don't know what's going on, but you're hurting everyone. The wedding is 2 days away." I blocked her. Then I blocked 2 more numbers after that. Apparently, my phone had become part of the family's emergency panic loop. No one stopped to consider what it meant to use someone's card for nearly $10,000 without asking. No one thought to apologize. They just assumed I'd handle it, because I always had. And this wasn't really about money. It was about entitlement. The kind that builds quietly over years and finally spills out in a way that forces you to see people clearly. This wasn't an accident or a misunderstanding. It was deliberate. They called the venue, handed over my card details, processed the payment, and counted on me being too passive to push back. So I made one more move. That night, while they scrambled, I logged into the shared drive my sister and I had been using to plan a small business, something we'd only started a few weeks earlier. I removed my name from every file, deleted the joint proposal, backed up my work, and shut the shared folder down completely. The messages kept coming. Someone posted a vague rant online about fake family. I didn't need to check who it was. Then a cousin sent me a screenshot of a Facebook comment from one of the groom's relatives, calling me a jealous, bitter spinster who sabotaged the wedding because I didn't have one of my own. The wedding hadn't even happened yet, and the story was already being rewritten. That's when I knew they were desperate. The venue had canceled. The charge was flagged and reversed. The money was gone and they had no backup. For the first time in years, I felt calm. Let them figure it out. By Friday morning, the day before the wedding, the noise stopped. No texts from my sister. No voicemails from my mom. Nothing from the niece who treated me like an ATM. The silence said everything. They weren't regrouping. They were unraveling. Around 9 a.m., my cousin Lydia sent me screenshots from a group chat I wasn't part of. My name came up again and again. My sister was venting, not apologizing, just panicking, about how the payment dispute triggered a full cancellation. Not just the ballroom, but the ceremony space, the bridal suite, the bar, everything. Birch and Stone had rebooked the date within hours. They're deep in a wait list. No refunds. Airtight contract. Her dream wedding disappeared because someone assumed my wallet was shared property. I wasn't happy about it, but I was clear. This wasn't stress or confusion. It was manipulation. Then I checked my bank account more closely. 7 unauthorized charges, a linen rental. Vendor deposits, lighting, makeup trials, Supplies, matching robes, floral delivery fees, all spread out over 2.5 weeks, small enough to avoid attention. None of it discussed. None of it approved. This wasn't a one-time lapse. It was a system. I called the bank and froze every connection tied to my sister. Old logins from years ago, forgotten subscriptions, even a shared emergency backup account I'd never used. All of it shut down. Permanent. Around 2 p.m., my mom showed up at my apartment without warning. I watched through the peephole as she stood there holding pastries from the Italian bakery I used to love. She knocked softly, said it had gone too far, said my sister made a mistake, said, "Your family." Then she slid a note under the door. "They made a mistake, but you're taking this personally. Don't throw everything away over one decision." One decision. That's how she described thousands of dollars taken without permission. I didn't respond. I tossed the note, made coffee, and turned my phone off. By evening, the fallout spread. A friend told me they were trying to move the reception to a private room at a steakhouse. No dancing. Cash bar, time limit, guest list cut in half, excuses sent out about unforeseen changes and a more intimate setting. Bridesmaids dropped out. Guests stopped traveling. Still no apology. At 10:46 p.m., my sister finally texted, "You've made your point." "Don't come tomorrow," I replied with one word. "Understood." Saturday morning arrived and the first surprise came early. There was no wedding, at least not the original one. By midday, the groom's parents stepped in, offering to fund a modest replacement reception. My sister refused. She wanted something that still looked impressive. That's when Daniel's father walked out. He told her he wasn't paying to clean up a mess caused by entitlement. Then everything collapsed. The priest backed out. The church booking shifted. Guests arrived with nowhere to go. The groom disappeared for an hour. None of this was my goal. I just wanted my money back and my boundaries respected. But once one thread was pulled, everything unraveled. That afternoon, I took a walk. People I knew had heard different versions of the story. No one said my name, but they didn't need to. Later, I got a photo. The wedding was back on Barely, a community hall, folding chairs, a rushed setup. The bride looked tense. The groom smiled too hard, then my niece left a voicemail. Not an apology, just sadness, stress. Assumptions, a reminder that family shouldn't let money interfere with love. She never said sorry. I deleted the message. That evening, while they rushed through vows under fluorescent lights, I stayed home and cooked dinner for myself. Nothing dramatic. Pasta, a glass of wine, a quiet night. Out of curiosity, I checked social media. Photos were already up, tight angles, forced smiles, cropped shots hiding how small and tense everything actually was. Someone from the groom's side live-streamed part of it. A friend sent the link. I watched for less than 2 minutes. That was enough. My sister stood off to the side with a clipboard, whispering and gesturing sharply. No music, no champagne, no joy. The wedding happened, but the fantasy didn't. And for the first time, I knew stepping back hadn't ruined anything. It only exposed what was already broken. No one contacted me the next day. No updates, no fake "wish you were here." Just silence. I preferred it. Photos filtered out through mutual friends. The vineyard was gone. The cake was gone. The reception was a fluorescent hall with plastic tablecloths and disposable plates. Still, they smiled and posted the same hashtags like nothing had changed. By Monday, I found a handwritten letter from my sister under my office door. 2 pages explaining why she had no choice, why she assumed I'd step up like always, and how I left them no time. No apology, just justification. She ended it by saying she needed space. I read it once, sealed it, and shredded it. Later, I got one message I kept from the groom's aunt. "I know what really happened. You did the right thing. I didn't walk away from a wedding. I walked away from people who believed they had permanent access to my time, money, and peace. I stopped fixing things. I stopped explaining. I let it live without me." Weeks later, the story's been rewrit. I'm the difficult one, the cold one, but no one's using my card anymore. I started the business alone, changed passwords, reviewed accounts, and finally treated myself the way I treated everyone else. They're still dealing with unpaid bills. I don't feel bad. They made a choice. So did I, because sometimes the lesson isn't just for them. It's for you. And I learned mine the moment I saw that $9,900 charge and realized the entitlement existed only because I allowed it. Not anymore.